the live transcript is getting in the way. Now I can see. Hi, Marie.
Okay.
Hi, Jeremy and Marie. Hi, Bill and Linda.
Hi there.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Shabbat shalom.
Hi, Marcia.
Shabbat
Shalom.
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 Hi, Bonnie.
There's more people.
Hi, Marcia.
Hi.
What else do we have that I missed?
Did you get Carol?
Teresa.
The Snydermans are there.
Did make it to both screens.
Judy, Shabbat
Judy
Shalom.
Schwartz, Shabbat Shalom.
Oh, it looks nice over there. Nice
Yeah,
with
Renee,
boats.
you have an interesting background.
What?
Yeah, it looks like the fall.
Yeah,
It is the fall. That's the fall at the Erie Canal. It makes me happy.
that's very important.
Because I'm zoomed out, and so I needed to do something.
Good idea. Shabbat Shalom, Barbara.
Amen on being zoomed out, but amen on being here as well. We're happy. We're happy that you're here with whatever background is behind you. You might notice that there is live transcript running at the bottom of your screen. Give me a thumbs up if you see the live transcript on your screen. Okay, so that's an option for you. We're trying live transcript to make services even more accessible with a couple of caveats that we want to share with you. If you hover, hopefully for those of you who are on a desktop or on a laptop, if you hover over the bottom of your screen, you'll see the prompt that says, across the bar that says live transcript. And if you click on the little arrow, you can hide it or show it as you want. Okay, so if you want the live transcript, if it's useful to you, keep it on. If you don't want it or want to try it one way or the other, you can click on that arrow and either show it or hide the live transcript. Let me give a full disclosure. The Hebrew will be abysmal, sometimes offensive. So pay no mind. Whoever's inside your little computers apparently has not done Hebrew Ulpan yet, and the Hebrew is... It's something, my friends. So the English is usually pretty decent, but we'll invite you to make use of it as best you see fit, and come with generous hearts as this is a big learning curve for all of us with the transcript, and we're hopeful, right? We're hopeful that it will increase access on all levels to services, and that you'll be able to continue to join us in song and in prayer and in silence. Some of us pray by reading, right? Some are missing the actual Siddur, even though we have these magnificent slides that Cantor Braun has put together. Some actually miss holding a Siddur in their hand and praying from the words. So use whichever entry point is best for you, whether that's auditory or visual from the beautiful slides, or the transcript at the bottom, or just hearing one another in the ways that we do that are perhaps not as well known. So please be with us. We wish you a Shabbat Shalom and invite you to welcome Shabbat. I'm looking out my window, and hard to believe this week that the sun is still high. The sun is still high. There's warmth and light and brightness that still shows, but evening is coming, and so we wade into Shabbat gently together and invite you please to join us.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you, Rabbi. Since we changed the clock, it's 6 o'clock. Seems so bright. It's beautiful. So let's join together in singing of Nigun. Ya dai 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 ya da 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 dai ya dai 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 ya da 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 dai ya da dai dai ya da 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 dai ya da dai dai ya da 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 dai ya lai ya lai lai ya da 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 dai ya lai ya lai lai ya da 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 dai ya la 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 Well, thank you for using your instruments. I could feel your energy on this side.
Let us make use of the light that is about to transition us from weekday into the holiness, the sanctity of Shabbat. As we say, as these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Please join us as we continue together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kileshanu b'mitzvotav veitzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Let's continue with Kiddush. We'll ask you please in body or in spirit to rise as we sanctify the day.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kireshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsha b'ahava uv'ratzon hinhilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit ki hu yom tekilah lemikroe kodesh zecher letziot Mitzrayim ki vanu v'charta v'tanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'b'ratzon hinchaltanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen. L'chaim tovim.
And please be seated. And friends, just a reminder for those who have maybe just joined us, you might notice the transcript running across the bottom of your screen. That's a choice for you, not a setting that's permanent. If it's something that's helpful for you or welcome, leave it. If not, scroll over the section that says live transcript, and you should be able to hide it for as much of the service as you want as well. Okay, so again, the bottom of your screen, in all likelihood, where it says live transcript, and you can either keep it or hide it as you see fit.
Thank you, Rabbi. We'll continue with Kish Mira Shabbat, and this melody everybody knows, but I'm not sure if you're aware that this melody comes from the Yemenite Jewish tradition. So lots of percussion use. It's understandable. They're in the Middle East because it comes from Yemenite also tradition. So percussion and this kind of like a Moroccan or Yemenite sound. Well, try your best. Ki yeshmer ha-Shabbat ele yishmereni. Ki yeshmer ha-Shabbat ele yishmereni. Ot hi le'olameyat beino beini. Ot hi le'olameyat beino beini. Ki yeshmer ha-Shabbat ele yishmereni. Ki yeshmer ha-Shabbat ele yishmereni.
We'll continue together. Let's share these words of prayer. Come, let us sing joyously to Adonai, raise a shout for our rock and deliverer. Let us come into God's presence with praise. Let us raise a shout for God in song, for Adonai is a great God, the great ruler of all divine beings. And we'll continue with the singing of Lecha Dodi and the metaphor that stands behind it as you see this beautiful chuppah of bride and groom coming together, the people Israel and God coming together to welcome Shabbat and the Shabbat bride.
לחרדי לקראת קלה, בנשמת נקבלה. לחרדי לקראת קלה, בנשמת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד שמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לחרדי לקראת קלה, בנשמת נקבלה. לחרדי לקראת קלה, בנשבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקרב נסוכה. שום עושה במחשבה תחילה. לחרדי לקראת קלה, בנשבת נקבלה. לחרדי לקראת קלה, בנשבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי ברך קומי אורי. אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני חלייך נגלה. לחרדי לקראת קלה, בנשבת נקבלה. לחרדי לקראת קלה, בנשבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני יום סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לחרדי לקראת קלה, בנשבת נקבלה. לחרדי לקראת קלה, בנשבת נקבלה.
And please be seated. Entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time, even at unlikely times and through unlikely places. There is no place on earth without the presence.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, באלמד יברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכו בית ישראל, בעגלה בעגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה, ויתעלה על שמי קדושה. בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה, ואמרו אמן.
Come, let us rise in body or in spirit as we ready ourselves for our call to prayer.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך, לעולם ועד.
This is an hour of change. Within it, we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it, we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever, day and night. We will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch Atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leholam Vaed.
And please be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך, בכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשובך ובקומך, וקשרתם להות על ידיך, והיו לרדפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך וישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיהם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות להם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיהם.
All this we hold to be true and trustworthy for us. You alone are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You are our sovereign and savior, who delivers us from oppressors' hands and saves us from tyrants' fists. You work wonders without number, marvels beyond count. You give us life and steady our footsteps. You performed miracles for us before Pharaoh, signs and wonders in the land of the Egyptians. You led your people Israel out from their midst to freedom for all time. When your children witnessed your dominance, they praised your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices joyously.
Ya bye 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 bye, ya ba 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 bye, ya bye 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 bye, ya ba 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 bye, ya ba bye bye, ya ba 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 bye, ya ba bye bye, ya ba 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 bye, ya 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 מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, יא 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 יא
Together, Baruch Atah Adonai HaPoreh, Sukkot Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Blessed One, you spread over us a canopy of peace, a shelter of shalom over all Israel, your people, and over Jerusalem.
Continue with the singing with Shamru. Please join me. V'shameru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני vayinafash.
We'll continue now with the Amidah, and I will encourage you, wherever you are sitting, wherever you are standing, wherever you are praying, to take a look around in your spaces. For me, I'm looking out my family room window and notice something. Notice any one thing that is pleasing to you, and it could be the person with whom you're sitting. It could be the person who you are thinking of, the person who warms you. It could be sunlight still outside. It could be warmth in your home. It could be good health. Notice something for which you are thankful, and then join us as you rise for the Amidah, and we'll pray together.
Adonai sefata riftachu fi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, El Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Koneh HaKol, v'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, Mevi Geulah Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer u'Mashiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham Be'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol, Atah Rab leHoshia, Mashiv HaRuach u'Morid Chag Hashem, Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Berofeh Holim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Bagvorot, Umido Melach, Melech Mimit, Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Adonai HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol.
We share the Kedusha together. Atah Kadosh v'Shimcha Kadosh, V'Kadoshim b'chol yom Halelucha Selah, Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. And please be seated. Adonai, our God, grant as our heritage your holy Shabbat, that Israel who sanctifies your name may rest on it. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Machazir Shechinato L'Tzion. Blessed are you whose divine presence is felt again in Zion. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt. In our longing to feel your presence and do your will, you are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai she'odcha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha lecha na'eh lehodot. Blessed are you, Adonai, whose goodness deserves thanks and praise.
Please join me in singing Shalom Rav, a prayer for peace. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Ki atam melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki atam melech Adon lechol תשים לעולם, וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
Baruch atah Adonai hamivarech et amo Yisrael bashalom. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. And we'll take a few moments, each of us, in our own way, in silence, in prayer, in meditation. Let's move from our hopes, our aspirations for peace, the hopes to open our hearts that it will be God's will to be alongside of us. And let's bring all of that together into our prayers and our deep aspirations, that those who are struggling find peace, find solace, find strength if needed, find health, find patience and compassion as they are struggling in one way or another. As we say, Mishaberach, Avotenu v'imotenu, Abraham, Yitzchak v'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah, Yivarech et Cholim. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and give strength to those who are struggling. This Shabbat, we're holding in our prayers, Shena Esther bat Rochel, Chayanecha bat Riva Leah, Katriel Parachia ben Herschel Laser v'Shoshana, Sally Graff, Sarah bat Avraham v'Sarah, William Fawcett Jr., Alan Skirker, Laura Braun, Barbara DeCario, Miriam bat Ella, Stephen Brent, Rini Feingold, Meredith Cabanis Ader, Reverend Gordon Webster, Mary Paikunka, Irving Manis, Ralph Bookbinder, Masha Batsheva, Christine Yang, Ziad Webb, Greg Novozenitz, Susan Silton Tobias, Kim Stanger Delisle, Marjorie Shire, and Rachel Greer. If there are others that you would add to this list, please either share that name aloud by unmuting yourself for a moment, or adding that name to the chat box, and we'll hold all of those along with those who perhaps don't have someone to say Mishaberach for them, those who are struggling with COVID, those families in Atlanta who are struggling with the death of their loved ones. Let's hold all of those in prayers, and please unmute yourself if you have names to add as well.
Don Crino, Julie Everett.
Ariel.
Mark Freed,
Mark Friedman, and Elizabeth Friedman.
Paul Carcacci.
Joel Brill, Leslie Frank, Richard Jaffe, Judy Weiner.
Fidel Shelley.
Rachel Shapiro.
May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health, where possible to be restored, for their strength to be revived, for them to receive the best of what they need. May God send renewal of body and spirit, and let us join together in saying, Amen.
Amen. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imatenu mekorecha bracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We know that the United States is one of the richest and most technologically advanced countries in the world, and one that holds the grimmest of distinctions right now, with the biggest wealth gap and the highest numbers of COVID cases, irrespective of population. Spreading at an equally horrifying rate is racism, as this week we witnessed another tragic shooting and the loss of 8 lives, this time targeting women and the Asian American community. In response to the estimated 150% rise in hate crimes against Asian Americans since the start of the COVID pandemic, Rabbi Jonah Pesner, the director of the Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism, released the following statement. Perhaps you have read it, on behalf of the Union for Reform Judaism, the Central Conference of American Rabbis, and the wider Reform movement. The surge in hate crimes against Asian Americans since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic is a shameful stain on the nation. According to new data, major cities across the United States have seen triple-digit percentage increases in hate crimes directed at Asian Americans over the last year, including a 9-fold increase in New York City. Many of these attacks have targeted Asian American elders, such as the brutal murder of the 84-year-old woman in San Francisco. And these horrific attacks do not occur in a vacuum. They spring from the same climate of xenophobia, bigotry, and white supremacy that led to hate-fueled killings in Charlottesville, Pittsburgh, El Paso, and too many other communities, he writes. In 2019, the FBI reported a record number of hate crimes, a crisis deeply felt in the Jewish community, as we have confronted an alarming rise in anti-Semitic hate crimes since 2017. The wrongful scapegoating of Asian Americans and slurs against Asian nations by elected officials and prominent figures during the pandemic has caused deep pain and anxiety among Asian American communities, which includes Jewish Asian Americans. As Jews of many backgrounds, we have felt similar pain throughout our own historical experiences. Jews were senselessly blamed for the Black Death in medieval Europe, and similar tropes are still perpetuated today, leading to anti-Semitic violence and persecution. We stand in solidarity with the Asian American community in the face of bigotry and violence. We call on elected officials to forcefully denounce these hate crimes and provide resources to appropriately respond to this surge in violence. This includes Congress passing the Job or Hire No Hate Act to strengthen hate crime reporting and response. And as we tackle the dual crisis of COVID-19 and racial inequity, we must work to ensure accountability for hate crimes and justice for Asian American communities, come to understand our own biases and false belief systems, and put an end to the culture of xenophobia that fosters hateful actions. This past week, together with hundreds of my Reform colleagues worldwide, I attended our annual Central Conference of American Rabbis Conference on Zoom. There were far too many highlights for me to share tonight, but among the many was the privilege to learn with Pulitzer Prize winning author Isabel Wilkerson, who wrote the critically acclaimed book Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents, which I know that many of you have read and have talked about in temple circles. If you have not yet had the opportunity to read it, I highly encourage you. It is an exceedingly difficult but very important, critical work to read. When Rabbi Pesner introduced Isabel Wilkerson, he urged us not to be fatigued and to remain steadfast in our fight for social, racial, and economic justice. And he reminded us that kol kolot, that every voice to be heard, for that every voice to be heard, every voice must be counted. And the work that many of you did to ensure voter registration gave life, meaning, and legs to those words. I don't worry that you tire, as I shared in sessions after sessions at the conference, how inspired and in awe I am of those of you who have committed to deepening your own understanding of racism and bigotry, who are doing the hard work of participating in listening circles, who are advocating for legislative change, who are donating time or money or energy, or all of those to anti-racism initiatives, ensuring that we hold true to our Reform Jewish values. With Passover fast approaching, we add now to our collection of sacred books, Mishkan HaSeder. It's a beautiful work, a new Passover Haggadah put out by the Central Conference for American Rabbis. In it, there's a section that describes how metaphors, regenerative, I'm having that night tonight, sorry, powers of imagery, expansiveness, and personal connection have singularly sustained the imagination of the Jewish people and enabled us to reach this moment. Chaos, our very first metaphor, and one we seem in relation to on a daily basis, actually became separated into harmonious parts to compose our first home, the garden. We call Shabbat a bride. We just were singing Lecha Dodi, and during the Yamim Noraim, the high holy days, we talk about the great book of life and the gates of heaven that are open. Metaphor has carried the Psalms through the ages so that goodness and mercy pursue us the rest of our days. They are always just now on our heels. The image of God especially is holy and reliant on metaphor in the most incredible, extraordinary images of clouds and smoke and wind, different ways that we understand and imagine and relate to God. And our close reading of the Parsha, of the weekly Parsha, continues over centuries to mine metaphor and uncover flashes of new truths like mica beneath rocks. And tradition teaches us that Talmud is not finished being written until everyone has read it, because our individual sensibilities share in the creation of revelation. By joining our imaginations, metaphors write us, in fact, into the text. And of all the holidays, Passover's dynamism wins the metaphor count. We are instructed to relive our ancestors' enslavement, escape, and deliverance as though it were our own journey while sitting around our tables. How will each of us envision the Mitzrayim, that narrow space from which we will make our way? And how will each envision a promised land? These, in fact, are the questions we must ask ourselves this particular year as we sit at our own Seder tables, as we connect with our families via Zoom. What are the narrow spaces for people of color, Asian Americans, women, those who are LGBTQ, and what is their and our shared vision of the promised land? Isabel Wilkerson also spoke of metaphors, and when asked to describe one which she finds the most useful during this acute and heightened and horrifying time of racism, she cited the house metaphor. And if you've read the book, it will be familiar to you. For instantly, it reminds us of our responsibility and our role. She said, "We did not build this old house, but we are the current occupant, the owners of it now. We might not have caused the problem, but it is ours just the same. Blaming the previous owners isn't helpful, and neither is ignoring it." She uses this metaphor, of course, to describe slavery. We have no choice but to fix those things so that the structure will be strong and enduring for us and for future generations. And the second example that she cites is, in fact, a medical one. She says, when you are ill and an infection is identified, often you're prescribed an antibiotic. And during the course of the antibiotics, you start to feel better, hopefully in a few days. And so you are inclined to stop taking the antibiotic as regularly, as diligently. Maybe instead of 3 times a day, you take it once a day because clearly it's working and you feel better. So it must have worked. But the thing is, she says, it hasn't worked. It just is on its way to working, and it just appears that way. It hasn't completely eradicated the illness in your system, and the bacteria is still there, and actually it is growing stronger. So she says, stay the course. The alignment of hearing her speak on the cusp of Passover was extraordinarily powerful. She shared that it won't be until the year 2111 that African Americans will be free as long as African Americans were enslaved. It will take another 228 years for Blacks to reach parity with whites. It is unfathomable. Our story of slavery is about more than our redemption. It is about freedom and the responsibility to use that freedom as God intended. This, she says, is our country's karmic moment of truth. Will some still see dominance as their birthright, to protect it at all costs? Or, she challenged us, will we who have this unique window into both persecution and entitlement be the very powerful bridge builders that are so desperately needed? Will we practice the radical empathy that our texts teach and preach, and transcend boundaries and know that the same evil that was created by human beings can in fact be dismantled by human beings? She told us that caste was written as a prayer for our country. And we know that Abraham Joshua Heschel taught us to pray with our feet. And so we must ask ourselves, how do we do that? We look to the incredible works of the Social Action Committee and to the Women's Chavurah. We look at our website and see the Reform Movement's Radical Justice Campaign and register for those sessions coming next week, addressing our own behaviors, our own practices and policies through the lens of racial equity, diversity, and inclusion, and outwardly to pursue targeted strategic advocacy that could change laws and policies that impact our society. We support our teens who are participating in the Religious Action Center's Teen Racial Justice Fellowship. And we read or we reread Caste. And as we head into Passover, recalling the Mitzrayim, that narrow space from which we made our way, let us envision and work toward ensuring that very same widening of spaces, allowing for safe passage and ultimate freedom for all. And let us join together in saying, Ken Yehi Ratzon, let that be as God's will.
Ken Yehi Ratzon.
We continue now with our concluding prayers as we invite you to rise in body or in spirit, knowing that the words Aleinu literally mean it is our duty not only to praise and honor God, to do the work that we are meant to do. Join us, please, as we continue with the Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabech l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא סנגי ארצות ולא שמנו כמשפחות חדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגורר עלינו כהון חמונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Let us turn our thoughts to loved ones whom death has taken from us in recent days and those who died at this season in years past. Our hearts open as well to the wider circles of loss in our community and wherever grief touches the human family. During the period of Shloshim, these last 30 days, we are mourning the loss of Joan Harf, mother of Michael Harf, Simon Brightman, father of Blanche Fenster and husband of Josephine, Michael Rutberg, uncle of David Rutberg, Turk Morel, husband of B.J. Mann, J.D. Weisenberg, cousin of Jerry Weisenberg, Stanley Tim Funk, cousin of Arlene Weisenberg. And this marks a yahrzeit, an anniversary of passing for Albert D. Berman, Sarah Brodsky, Phyllis Rapp Brown, Charles Bullard, Agnes Caselli, Margaret Ebner, J. M. Ettlinger, Pierre Fenster, David Foreman, Ben Frindell, Edith Goldberg, Benjamin Hiller, Doris Kevin, Milton Coleman, Richard Leonard, Walter Leventhal, Abe Levitt, Bernard Michelin, James Murphy, Jody Reif, Maurice Ring, Paul Roel, Natalie Rudin, Seymour Sabison, Herman Sarakin, Henrietta Schester, Richard Schoenfeld, Ruth Shalofsky, Sarah Silver, Sharon Wexler, Zipporah Zidell, and we'll add to those names the 8 who were so needlessly killed in Atlanta to our prayers as well and to memory. Please, would you add any other names to either list that are either better spoken aloud by you or added to either list?
Jacob Cohen. Rita Butsby.
Lance Balky.
Eileen Kaplan.
Mark Friedman, Mark Eisenberg,
Mike Siddell.
We'll ask you please to take a moment and remute yourself as we say, Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be for a blessing, as we continue with the words of the mourners Kaddish together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei rabbah, be'alma divrach yirutei b'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'yamechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam omei omaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudasha b'richu, le'elah min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru, amen. May the source of peace bestow peace on all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved as we join together in saying, amen. And please be seated. We will share with you some announcements this evening. And I am I'm noticing the sun. Maybe you can see it as well. It's quite magnificent, and I am thinking about our bima that we all miss, and how often the cantor or Elise sit in that spot where the sun makes them look like angels behind them, and is so magnificent. So I'm both noticing and appreciating and missing our sacred spaces, and thankful that we're together. Let me share these announcements with you. Tomorrow morning we have Torah study at 9:15, where we continue our walk into the book of Genesis. And Shabbat morning services at 10:30. If you are in the 40s and 50s group, you know that your event, your dumplings and more foodie event, is at 7:30 tomorrow night. You should find the link. That was probably sent to you, and looking forward to seeing you then. Sunday, March 21st, we have religious school at 9:30. Torah Chanting Club at 11, and come see us. Come see us in the parking lot between 4 to 5. We'll have a parking lot parade, a Passover parking lot. It needs another P in there, an alliteration. I'll let you think of it, those who are more skilled than I, but a parking lot Passover parade something, and come and see us. We will be there. You'll stay in your cars, please, but feel our love and our warmth, wishing you a Chag Sameach for Pesach, and give you a little goodie bag that has been lovingly put together by Lori Diggory and Carol Greer and Joyce as well, Joyce Schachter, and so many others. So please join us then. On Monday, March 22nd, please come and hear Rabba Epstein. She is incredible. She is one of the first Orthodox women to be ordained a rabbi from Yeshivat Maharat. It is one of the first Orthodox yeshivot, and she's the director of the Wexner Heritage Program. She's going to come and speak to us about the women of Passover. She's extraordinary. That's at 7 p.m. on Monday, and then 8 p.m. is Hebrew decoding. On Wednesday, March 24th, the cantor and I will be co-teaching a class called Moses, Miriam, Matzah, and More. Signs and Wonders of Passover. Come and learn with us, and bring with you one of your favorite ritual items for Passover for us to discuss and to appreciate as well. Looking ahead, we've got services the following week, as you know, and our Passover service with TBK, our joint service, on Sunday, March 28th at 10:30 in the morning. And then second night Seder, please join us for our congregational Seder on Zoom, and be with us at your own tables, and we'll celebrate Passover together that day. We want to thank Marilyn Roser, our board greeter extraordinaire. We want to mazel tov again to Judy and Arthur Weinstein on the birth of their granddaughter, Rosalie, and we're looking forward in her right time to having her here and meeting her, and also to Ilana Dar on being recognized as a leader in the Jewish education world according to Northwestern University. He earned a wonderful accommodation from degree rather from the Spurs Institute for Jewish Learning and Leadership. And lastly, the Temple Sinai Women's Chavurah, together with the National Council for Jewish Women, is doing their March Padness, and you can be a part of the virtual pad kit making party, and be in touch with Monica Katzel, or look on the website for information about that. What else did I miss? What should we know about from where you are sitting? What are you celebrating? What should we know?
Sunday, the Levine Center at the Federation, 5:30 to 6:30. Stand with Asian Americans. They have a whole program, the first of 3 at the Levine Center to End Hate, and you can register on the Federation website. Scroll down. These are important programs with some college professors, and series of 3, and it's important. They were on the radio today.
They were on WXXI. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
They've been
Excellent.
planned for several months so that's a good one.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Ed, for bringing that to our attention. Yes, you can find that on the Federation website. I think I don't know if it lives on our website as well, but also an excellent program, an important program, especially now, but always to attend. Anything else that we should know? Any other joys? Any other simchas that we should know about?
Rabbi, maybe we should tell everybody to check out our new website that just rolled out this past week, and it's beautiful. And thanks to Karen McCallie and everybody who worked diligently, it's beautiful. So thank you to all. Check it out.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. Months and months and months of work. Jeremy, I know, is also here with us this evening, and so many hands and hearts were a part of rebuilding, actually building anew this website. So please be sure to not only look at it, but use it and join us. Thank you, Cantor. Thank you. Anything else at all that we should know? Okay, then come please join us with Motzi and our closing song. We'd love to see your showbreads. We would love to see that which nourishes and sustains you. This is one of your last chances to show us your challah, right? We're heading towards matzah land. So show us what you got, friends, and let's share Motzi together.
We would have to bring them in person, right? When we come out, everybody would have to bring the halot. Let's recite the blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. B'tavon. And this. Just echoing Rabbi's beautiful Devar Torah speech. That nation shall not take up sword against nation, they shall never again study war. Please join me in Lo Yisagoy. Lo Yisagoy ele goy heref, lo yilmedu ari milchama. Lo Yisagoy ele goy heref, lo yilmedu ari milchama. Lo Yisagoy ele goy lo yilmedu ari milchama, lo yisagoy el goy heref, lo yilmedu ari milchama. Ken Yeh Ratzon, may it be so, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. You should be able to unmute yourselves and wish everybody else a Shabbat Shalom as well.
Bring him here.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom lekulam.
Thank you.
Shabbat
Shabbat
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, beautiful halot. Beautiful,
Thank you.
delicious.
Thank you,
Delicious.
Cantor Brong, and then Rabbi Till. Wonderful service.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
No favors.
Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Ready.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for joining us.